this video, we are going to paint the sky, and this is a bit of a review from yesterday because we did paint skies yesterday, but now you're committing to your actual painting. And I'm going to go ahead and paint this sky, but the first thing I'm going to do is get the paper wet, like we talked about yesterday. Now, there are some brushes back there, like this. They're the blue-handled brushes. They're great to use for watercolor, but they have a very small tip on them. If you look at the difference between these two, this one's going to hold quite a bit more of water. So where I'm painting large areas like the sky, I want this brush. Where I'm doing details, and when we paint with marker, I'm going to use this smaller bristle brush. So I'm going to go ahead and just very quickly moisten the sky. Now, if you notice, I have a balloon in my sky, and I'm going to, in some areas I might paint over it, and there are some areas I may try not to paint over it. And I'm going to go ahead and use that technique where we go from dark to light. So where I know it's going to be dark up here by the balloon, that's where I'm going to try not to paint over it. But as I get down to the strings, it's going to be a lighter sky, so I'm not too worried about going over it like right there. If we are using light watercolor, which is what I've recommended, then you don't have to worry about painting over things and then not being able to see them. One other thing I tend to forget sometimes is there's usually a line right here, a construction line. Make sure you erase those before you begin painting. All right, that is a construction line that does not need to be there. Now, we are going to do two colors in our sky. You choose your colors, and a lot of it's going to depend on what you have going on in your picture. I'm going to go ahead and do black and blue because I want it to be a little bit on the stormy side here. So I'm going to start with a blue, and I'm just touching the top of my blue. By the way, my blue is starting to get a little wet there, so I want to be careful not to add too much, but well, I don't think that's dark enough. So I'm going to go ahead with a little more blue in my paintbrush. I want it to be moving around with the water that I put in there. I'm going to paint a little around my balloon and then have it fade as it goes down. Notice how easily it's smooth, or it paints down towards the bottom. And I'm going to try and avoid these streaks. So if they don't run with the water, then I'm going to just kind of gently coax them around with my paintbrush until they disappear. I might also just say, hey, I'm going to let it sit for a moment. So I got to do this side of the sky. Hey guys, look at how I'm actually going quite fast here. This is not something that's going to take us 10, 15 minutes. I'm going to say 5, maybe close to 10 at the most. But really, this is a quick process. All right, now I said I'm going to do blue and black. So now that I've put a blue layer on there, I'm going to add a little more water to my paintbrush and a little bit of black here. Black is such a strong color here. And because it's wet, these two colors are kind of mixing together as I paint. I'm not scrubbing the paper. I'm just going back and forth to blend it. And if I want it to get lighter as I go down, I can add water, or if my sky is way too wet, I can also take some of that out by dabbing it with a paper towel, and that will allow my paintbrush now to kind of absorb some of the extra water. All right, so I got that. I want to show you something over here, though. I'm going to add a much darker effect over here because I want to put kind of a cloud over here. So I'm going to darken the paint with the blue and the black. That's really dark. Holy moly. What am I thinking, right? Okay, I'm going to bring it down a little bit. So two things here. It's a little on the dark side, but I also want it to look like it's getting darker and coming over, like the storm is moving in here. So I am going to take just a little bit of out down here, but I'm also going to try something where I use some paper towel and I'm going to crinkle it up. I want a very rough crinkling look here, and then I'm going to dab a little bit to make it look like clouds. Ooh, there's a shine right on the camera. See how that works? Now, you do have to have a decent amount of paint on there in order to really lighten it. It kind of shows up. It's a little bit on the dark side, but I do see a little bit of that effect right there. Now, I'm going to go along the edge of this, and I'm going to go ahead and bring just a touch of that darkness on this side. Again, the storm is moving in. Do I want that line there? I don't think so. I don't want to keep that line there, so I'm going to work kind of quick here, and I'm taking some of the paint out, and then I'm just going to blend this over. See how I got specks on my paper? That was an accident. So I'm going to blend it over, and make it look like, yes, that storm is coming in, but it's not just a blob of black right there. All right, so think about the colors you are going to use in your sky, 2 colors or more. And overall, this is a very light painting for the sky. And when you get done with this, notice, by the way, it's drying and it's a little uneven. So I'm going to come back every once in a while and just kind of straighten it up a little bit. But when you get done with your overall sky for today, we're going to put these on the drying rack, and then we're going to, like I said, we'll start here in a moment on marker paint.